Today we're going to be talking about visitors. Now, visitors are a very important piece of BNI. So we have our chapter members that we're doing business with on a daily basis, but what keeps relationships fresh is the visitors to your chapter. Every visitor that comes in looks at your chapter kind of like a shopping mall. When they see all of the people that are gathered on a weekly basis, say, hey, you know what? My roof was leaking. I do need a roofer, or I do need an accountant, or I do need a bookkeeper. It's great to bring visitors into the chapter. And then some of those visitors may actually say, hey, you know what? I fit in with this group. Maybe I'd like to submit an application. Now, not all visitors will submit an application, but that's okay because they always do provide value. What we're going to talk about today is really how can we use BNI Connect to help you with that visitor process, all the way from the inviting stage through the follow-up stage. So looking at the visitor process, there's three steps to the visitor process that I'm going to go over today in BNI Connect. And no, this is not going to be a PowerPoint presentation. It is a live presentation. I'm going to show you how this actually works in BNI Connect. But there's three steps to this process. By the way, this particular graphic here is part of a 53-page manual about visitors. If you'd like a copy of that manual and how BNI Connect steps you through every single part of this process, do me a favor, just shoot me an email, support@bniconnect.com, and say, I would like a copy of this manual. The other thing you can do if you're listening to this live today, in the GoToWebinar software, in that little kind of fold-out menu, there's a thing that says handouts, and you can just click on the link and download the Visitors in BNI Connect document. But again, if you're listening to this recording at a later date, just shoot me an email, support@bniconnect.com, and say, I'd like the 53-page Visitors Manual. All right, so moving on. There are three different parts of this process, three different steps. The first two steps here happen before the chapter meeting. So the visitor invitation email, again, that's a way to go and invite a visitor to your meeting. The second part of that is pre-registering visitors. Now, this right here is the key to the whole process. Having visitors register for the upcoming chapter meetings, which either you can do for the visitor or the visitor can do themselves. And then the final part of the process happens after the meeting, and that's the follow-up process. So let's take a look at each part of this process. So the first step of this is inviting visitors. Now, inviting visitors is a pretty straightforward process, but we do have to go beyond the home page. So we're going to have to go into the menu items in order to get to the visitor invitation. So the way you get there is you'll see that there's these things up at the top: network operations, reports, tools, and admin. Most people will just see network operations and reports. Now, network is going to be all of the networking components. So those are all the things, the social media aspect of BNI Connect, the connections and the testimonials. Operations and reports is really where everything else is hidden. The thing to remember is that reports are read-only. You can never do anything with the reports except to pretty much export them to Excel or print them out. There's never any data entry or creating things or anything through the reports. If you want to create something, you want to do something, in this case, if we want to send out a visitor invitation, we need to go to the operations menu. So I'm going to click on operations up here and go to the chapter level operations. Now, by the way, if you happen to be a director consultant on the call with us today, keep in mind that you can send out an invitation to any one of the chapters that you support just by changing the chapter name in the drop-down list. If you're a member of a chapter only, then you're just limited to your own chapter here. So once we get here, there's a bunch of different options, but the option we want is right here. It says create email. When we're under create email, there's a couple of other things. We can email your chapter. That'll give you a distribution list for your chapter. But the second thing is email visitor invitation. Now, the visitor invitation is really, it's a way to get out a nice branded and well-written invitation to a person that might be interested in visiting your chapter. Very, very important distinction here. BNI is not a spam organization. We don't do cold calls. That's the whole reason we join BNI, is so that we don't have to go out there and do cold calls. We don't expect you to send out 1 million invitations to people that you don't know. What this is designed to do is to really be a follow-up to a verbal invitation. In other words, let's say that you're at a networking event. Our Chamber of Commerce, for example, hosts 3 networking events every month, and we like to go there and network with other people. And let's say that I'm at this networking event and I meet somebody new, or I'm talking to somebody and it seems like they might be interested in BNI. I say, hey, why don't you come to my BNI meeting? Sure, great. When is it? I'll tell you what, how about I send you an invitation so that you can register for the meeting? Then what you can do is go into BNI Connect and send this invitation out. And the great part about that is that it will allow them to register for the meeting. So the way to do that is we, again, go to the Operations chapter, create email visitor invitation, and all you need to do is fill out a couple of pieces of information. So their first name, so let's say I'm inviting David Elliott to my chapter meeting, and the company name, and their email address. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my own email address in. I recommend that you try this out. Go ahead and send one of these invitations to yourself. So I'm going to send one of these to my own personal email address here. And then we put in a personal message. Now the personal message is going to appear at the top of the invitation. It's kind of like an introductory paragraph where it kind of breaks apart from all the branded scripted stuff, and it is a message that's coming from you. And this is a way to make sure that the person knows that you are indeed sending a valid invitation. This isn't just a piece of spam. This came from you. So you just type your message in here. It was great meeting you at the Chamber event earlier. I look forward to seeing you at my BNI meeting. Please be sure to click the RSVP button below. All right, so I click send, and by the way, a little piece of trivia here. In the next release, we do have a new release of BNI Connect coming out in just a couple of weeks. This will automatically CC you, so you get a copy of every one that you send out. Now that's not happening for a couple of weeks. Right now this will only go to this email address, but in the future it will be CC'd to you, so you can see what went out and actually be assured that it was sent. So I'm going to, but for today, I'm going to go ahead and click send. And in just a second, I should get a copy of this, and here we go. Here it is. So this is what the invitation looks like, and you can see here, it was great meeting you at the Chamber event. This is the information I typed in up here. Please be sure to click the RSVP button below. How will you grow your business? It has an introduction to what BNI is all about here. It personalizes it to David. Hi, David. Then it has find out about BNI. Now, if they click this link, find out about BNI, that is going to bring them to discoverbni.com. This is a website that was specifically designed in order to give people more information about BNI. It has some great testimonials in here, some great information about BNI and about the BNI meetings. And the great thing is that they're updating it with new testimonials and new information on a daily basis. There's also some great information about your chapter. It has the chapter name, what day you meet, what time you meet, and what venue you're at. And unfortunately, they don't meet the Burr chapter in Antarctica in August, so please contact us in September. But I can RSVP now, and this is where it really changes the game from a visitor perspective. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever invited a visitor to a BNI meeting and they didn't show up? Now, anybody that's a veteran member that's been in BNI for a while, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, I've been in BNI since 2002, so I've been in BNI for 14 years. I can tell you for a fact that I have gone to a lot of people and said, hey, love to see you at my BNI meeting, and there I am on Thursday morning at my meeting at 7 o'clock, and they don't show up. This right here will change that. I guarantee you it will change that. because what happens is that this changes the whole feeling behind the invitation. And it takes it from a very casual, hey, I'd love to see you at the meeting, to a, now you're expected to be there. They're RSVPing to an event. Now you have to remember, from a visitor perspective, most of the time you're meeting somebody that you're inviting to a BNI meeting, you're meeting them at someplace like a networking event, where even the chamber events that we go to, it's, a room full of 100 or 200 people, that it's mostly just, 1 or 2 hours of open networking. BNI meetings are very, very different. So what happens is Thursday morning rolls around and the alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning, and they're looking at the alarm clock saying, oh my goodness, it's so early, I can't believe I agreed to this meeting. You know what, it's just another networking event. Nobody's going to expect me, or nobody's going to miss me if I don't show up. And they hit the snooze button and they just don't show up to the meeting. I bet you did the same thing the first time you were invited to a BNI meeting. But once you have them register for the meeting, now they've committed to it before they've even shown up. So very important, get them to fill out this registration form. All they need to do is pick the date. They're going to fill out their own information. So at this point, you know that it's correct because they're filling it out themselves. And put the phone number in, email address, and email address is mandatory because this is also going to do a couple of wonderful things. It's going to let them know that they are indeed registered for that meeting. And let's put a CAPTCHA code in here, H7R5R, and click submit. So the first thing that happens, as soon as they click submit, they are going to get an email saying, thank you for registering. And again, this is what changes the game right here, because now they have committed to this meeting. Hi, David, you are now confirmed to visit the BNI Burr chapter. You are confirmed to visit that meeting, which also means that 2 days before the meeting, they're going to get a reminder. So let's say that they scheduled themselves for a meeting a week or 2 weeks away. They will get a reminder 2 days before the meeting saying, hey, by the way, David, just a reminder, you registered to visit this meeting. Please make sure you bring plenty of business cards. We look forward to seeing you. The other great thing that happens is that the leadership team and visitor hosts get notified. So here's an email that Alfred E. Newman, he's my vice president of the chapter, he got an email saying, hey, Alfred, David Elliott is confirmed to visit the BNI chapter this week. Please be sure to welcome David. Remember that they can become members. Now this is great for the leadership team because they can pre-call that visitor and say, hey, David, I noticed that you're going to be at our BNI meeting this week. I can't wait to introduce you to the plumber and the electrician. The more touches you can have with this visitor, especially before the meeting, the better the chance that they're going to show up and the better the chance that they might even join the chapter. Now, in the next release of BNI Connect, again, we've made some updates to this. We're looking forward to seeing who invited them in this email, as well as the mobile phone number if they filled it out on the registration form. So some things to help you with that pre-visitor process. Now, if a visitor does not register themselves, it's a great idea for you to register that visitor. And this goes back to the second part of this step through here, right? We sent the email. Then the pre-registration process, either the visitor can pre-register themselves, which I just showed you right from the email, RSVP link, boom, they've registered, they get the emails ready to go, or you can pre-register the visitors. Now there's 2 ways that you can register a visitor. First of all, if you go back to the operations menu, under Manage Visitors, you should see, and it's probably the only thing that you'll see unless you're a visitor host, register a prospective visitor before a meeting. Register a prospective visitor. And essentially, this is the exact same form that they see on the public website, except you're logged into BNI Connect right now. So you just need to fill it out the same exact way that you would if you were filling it out on the website. Speaking of which, if you wanted to, you could also fill out the form on the website yourself. So if you don't know where your regional website is, just click on the link at the top that says regional website. That will take you to your regional website. The easiest thing to do, if you don't know your chapter domain right off the bat, just go to find a chapter. My chapter happens to be the Wakefield chapter. Once I get here, I have two options. I can go visit this chapter. That brings me to the page, which allows me to go in and register. This is the same page that the visitor would be brought to. Or if I go to the chapter website, on the chapter website, there's also a visit chapter link up here. Again, same exact form, same exact process. And I'm telling you that visitor registration piece is the key to the whole thing. It really does, turn it around, and I'll show you some proof of that in just a second. Now, the final step of this process is the follow-up. So from a visitor host perspective, if we have any visitor hosts, or in some cases it's the secretary treasurer, but if we have any visitor host secretary treasurers on the line, once the visitors start registering themselves, it makes your job so much easier, because now all you need to do is go in and mark attendance. And again, that is so much easier than having to type all the visitor information in yourself. Just a very quick view of that. All you need to do is go into Manage Registered Visitors and mark attendance. And just do a search for those visitors. So let's do a search here. Oh, here's David Elliott, who was just registered. I can either remove him if he didn't show up, or I can go in and edit this visitor by clicking the edit button. And again, rather than having to type and choose everything, it's all filled out for me. I just need to choose visitor attended. And at that point, I choose whether or not to add them to the PALMS report. In other words, will Jeremy Walsh here, I just need to verify the person that invited them, will Jeremy Walsh get credit in the PALMS report for bringing a visitor? Now, this is an important thing. If you're a visitor host, secretary treasurer, you only want to add them to the PALMS the first time, and only if they're an eligible visitor. The reason for that is that a lot of the metrics in BNI, especially the traffic lights report, that is dependent on this statistic, meaning that if the same visitor is marked 2, 3, 4 times, you will have a much lower conversion ratio, which is going to lower your traffic light score. So if the person's a member of another chapter that's just visiting, or it's their second or third or fourth visit, you probably don't want to choose this option. You probably want to choose the option for not adding them to the PALMS. You can fill out any additional, maybe you got a business card from them and you have all their address information. And then at the bottom, you have a choice whether or not to send them a follow-up email. Now, you may not want to send it if it's somebody that's been there 3, 4, 5 times, they probably don't need it. Or if, let's say, I know this would never happen to you, but you're 2, 3, 4 weeks behind on doing your visitor entry, and it would be pretty silly. Thanks for visiting our chapter recently, and it was a month ago. So you can choose to opt out of that, or you can send it. I'm going to go ahead and send it, so you can see that in just a second. I should get an email saying, thank you for visiting our chapter. And that should come in momentarily. And here's that email. Hi, David. Thank you for recently visiting BNI Burr on the 27th. Some of the benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the visitor process, from inviting to pre-registering and following up with the visitors. And there's also some reports in the system that allow you to kind of go back and view your visitors or re-invite them in the future to a networking event or things like that. But I know that there are a lot of skeptics out there, and they say, well, this is great in theory, but does it actually work? And the answer to that is yes, it does. And let me tell you a quick story. So this first came out a couple of years ago, the visitor registration piece, about 2 years ago now. And I was actually the president of my chapter at that time. And I'm in my chapter, I'm just a normal member. don't know how much I do with BNI Connect on the side, but I wanted to really prove that BNI Connect worked and that this visitor process worked. So we were doing a visitor's day, and we did all the regular stuff that we would do for a visitor's day. We did the 40 letters and the phone calls and the follow-ups and all that. But I made one change. I said, listen, I want you to register all of your visitors. So once you confirm that visitor, you call them, they say that they're coming, I want you to register that visitor in BNI Connect. Now, I know we have some longtime members on here, David and Steve and Andres. Visitor Day, approximately what percentage of the visitors actually show up to your Visitors Day? Usually I hear answers of, anywhere between 10 and 60% of the visitors, right? So we did the typical thing before the meeting, and I said to my chapter, okay, we're having our Visitors Day next week. How many visitors do you have coming? Oh, I have 2, I have 1, I have 3. Now we have a chapter of 50 people, so by the time we were done going around the room, we were like, oh yeah, so there's going to be like 100 visitors here next week. Well, I got to make sure I alert the facility and make sure we have enough chairs. I go back to my office and I look in BNI Connect, and I've been asking them to please register their visitors. We had all of 6 registered visitors. We had 6 days left to our Visitors Day, 6 registered visitors. So I made this email up quick using the report in BNI Connect and sent it out to them. I said, please confirm your guests and click here to register your confirmed visitors, which brought them to the web page to register. Cool thing happened that night. My email box started going crazy, bing, 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 and I got a bunch of email notifications because we had gone from 6 registered visitors to 21 registered visitors. And that was awesome. And the great thing is everybody could see who the invited by people were, etc. Then we had 4 days until our Visitors Day, 26 registered visitors. So we added another 5 visitors, added another 8 visitors the next day, 3 days left. 2 days, we had 39 registered visitors. And finally, 13 hours before our next Visitors Day, and we had 45. So based on previous Visitors Days and somewhere between 10% and 50% or 60% showing up, we were expecting maybe between 5 and 15 to 20 of those visitors to show up. What really happened, though, was 42 of those visitors showed up. We had 6 applications turned in, and we had 3 additional applications. We ended up with 8 new members from that Visitors Day. And a lot of it had to do with that whole process of pre-registering, because a lot of them got that 2-day notification. And you know what happened? The 3 visitors that didn't show up, they called and apologized and said, hey, by the way, do you mind if I register myself for a future meeting or come back next week? Absolutely. Come back next week. And we were able to get additional visitors as a follow-up. So if this process works, you just do it over and over again, right? Well, the next time I was no longer on the leadership team and we were coming up for our Visitors Day, and I'll tell you, when I'm not on the leadership team, I'm just a member of my chapter. I don't interfere. I'm just a member at that point. And our leadership team went off in a completely different direction. They were doing Facebook events and, pushing it out through social media and, oh, well, if we break it into 3 different visitors days and have a contest and, we're going to give away a free month's venue dues in order to, whoever brings the most visitors. Basically, we went through that Visitors Day. We had a total of 8 visitors over 3 weeks. 8 visitors over 3 weeks. That was actually less visitors than we normally get per week on a regular weekly basis, and we ended up with 0 applications. So they're 6 months, 7 months go by, and they're doing another one, and they're going down the same path, the Facebook, the everything. Now, I'm not saying Facebook's a bad idea, but the key to this whole thing is registering. So again, we did the same thing. I said, listen, do you mind if I help you out? All I want them to do is register their visitors on BNI Connect. And we went from, instead of having pretty much 0 visitors, we went to 25 visitors. I think we had 28 or 30 registered visitors that time, and we ended up with 4 applications. I think we ended up with 2 or 3 new members from that, all from simply registering the visitors. And I think we are just about at the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do is to open this up to any questions that you might have. Any questions at all about the visitor process or anything else about BNI Connect, I'd be happy to answer those questions. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. You can access this by going to our support site. You get there by clicking this question mark here in the upper right-hand corner. And just when you get to the support site, click on live and recorded webinars. You can register for upcoming webinars through the live webinars, or you'll see a July 2016 recorded webinar section here shortly. I will be uploading them very soon. You can also find them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, youtube.com BNI Connect Global. This has all of our recordings, including some education moments, as well as, again, the entire history of recorded webinars. All right, so let's see. Walt says, how do I invite a testimonial? Do you mean request a testimonial from somebody? So if you've done a service for somebody and you think you should receive a testimonial for that, how do you ask somebody to give you one? So yeah, sure, exactly. I can show you how to do that. That's done through your connections. So really giving testimonials and receiving testimonials is done initially through your connections. So if you click on Network Connections or go to the My Network tab over here, so if you just click on one of your connections here, let's say Alana here, Alana Moreno. Once I click on her name, it should bring up the more detailed version. If I thought she did a good job for me, I could give her a testimonial. Or if I think I just did a good job for them and I'd like them to give me a testimonial, I can ask them for a testimonial. That will send them a request. They'll send them an email saying, you know, Jeremy has asked you for a testimonial. Is that what you were looking for, Walt? And again, the connections list will be automatically populated with all of your chapter members. Once you start connecting with other people in BNI Connect, it will have all people that you're connected with. Walt says it was not an option the last time, it wasn't showing up. So by the way, if you've already asked them for a testimonial, it won't show up. Or if they've already given you a testimonial, it will not show up because you can only give one testimonial per person. If you have already asked them for one and they haven't responded, go over to your testimonials. So I can click on the testimonials tab here, or I can go to Network Testimonials. Both things will take you to the same exact place. And here I have testimonial requests. I can remind, these are people that have requested from me. I can give, ignore, reject those requests. Shelley says, apologies, she just got out of a meeting, but thank you for making it. And you'll be able to see the recording if you were missing the first part. Shelley says, is there a tab that will allow us to see the info given for a 10-minute speaker, such as their spouse and children name? Sure, absolutely. So you can get that through a report. So if I go to reports, right? So if I go to the reports for my chapter, there is a report there. Let me actually switch because nobody in Antarctica has their profile filled out. So let me go to my own region, my own chapter, so you actually see something of value here. All right, so I could go to the reports, and there's a thing that says Member Details Report. Click on View Member Bio, and you can view the bio for anybody in your chapter, and as long as they've filled out their profile, this will have that information. So this is essentially the same bio that they would fill out before a keynote 10-minute presentation at their chapter meeting. Is that what you were looking for, Shelley? Your secretary treasurer, by the way, can also use this report as an introduction before that speaking, 10-minute speech at the chapter. You can also use this before a one-to-one with somebody to review their gains profile. Just click on gains once you're in there. Or you can always copy and paste this and send it to somebody else. Before you do a one-to-one with them. Shelley says, yes, I wanted to send birthday anniversary cards to my chapter members. Unfortunately, that little piece of information isn't recorded in the system. So we don't ask people for their birthdays or their anniversaries. Unfortunately, we can't get that information back out because it isn't put in. Sorry about that. So, though I have heard that request before. All right. Any other questions? Questions, comments, concerns, compliments? All right. Just a reminder, this was the last one of our member webinars for this month. I will be repeating this entire series again next month and every month. So if there's other chapter members that you feel would benefit from hearing any of these webinars live, please do refer them to one of these webinars. We also do a series of leadership team webinars. That series will be starting in just a couple of hours, actually, tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be going through the leadership team tools and reports. On Thursday, we're going to go through chapter goals. And on Friday, we're going to talk about online renewals. So if there's anybody in your leadership team in your regions, I know we have a couple of director consultants, area directors, executive directors on the call. If there's anybody in your leadership teams or you're going to be on the incoming leadership team, please join me the rest of the week and learn more about some of the higher level functions in BNI Connect. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you guys so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Happy connecting.